Geoffrey here. If you're currently in the process of trying to save your relationship, that's going to be a good bet that your partner has told you here something like, I love you and I still care about you, but I just don't feel the same way about you anymore. I don't love you anymore. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you what that exactly means when she says that and how you can artfully respond to this. And I really want you to stick around till the very end of this video here, because I think a lot of the videos starting this topic usually pertain to that of the dating space or the early stages of the relationship phase. But the way you should interpret this and the way you should respond to this if you're in a long-term relationship or in a marriage setting should be very different than if you're in the dating phases or in the early stages of that relationship. So make sure to stick around till the very end of this video, because I don't want you to miss anything here. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Geoffrey and I help men in long-term relationships and in marriages with the right skills, with the right mindsets as well, the internal growth to allow you to become a better leader who can save your relationship by yourself. So if you want more videos to help you in your marriage, in your long-term relationship, then I want you to subscribe to this channel and click the bell button as well to be notified when I post new videos every single week. And before we begin, I want to quickly let you know that the registration for the masterclass is still open. So if you're interested in learning the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up, then I want you to stick around till the very end of this video for the announcement on how you can get in on that. So let's begin this discussion here by talking about what does it actually mean when your partner says, I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. And to understand this, we need to understand the difference between logical expressions and emotional expressions. So if you break that sentence apart, the first part here, the I love you part, is really her logical expression. This is her basically telling you, I still care about you. I acknowledge that we have a history together, that she's expressing to you, I know I should make things work, that the right thing to do is probably to make things work, to trust that you can change, that to trust that the relationship can change and so on. And I think she also logically understands that she should love you back and she should come back to you eventually and not give up on this relationship so easily. But the second part of the sentence, the but I'm not in love with you, that's really the emotional expression, the emotional part of the expression. So she's basically saying here that she knows she should be doing all those aforementioned things, but emotionally she just can't commit to it. She just, in her gut feeling, she doesn't think that this is going to be a good idea. And I bet you felt this yourself too when you're faced with certain decisions in life. You know what the right thing to do is, but somehow in your gut feeling, something feels wrong. Something is bringing you or preventing you from really committing to that decision, even though logically you know it's the right decision. This is the same thing here. She's feeling the exact same dilemma, this exact same paradox between what she logically wants to do or what logically should happen versus what she emotionally feels. And the other thing you need to understand here also is that people make decisions via their emotions, not logic. And it doesn't matter if you're a male who thinks that they are very logical in their decision making. And if you talk to people who are really good at persuasion, they really understand this point, that people really make decisions via emotions, not logic. So if you're finding your partner, for example, is saying that she's seeing your changes, she's saying that maybe she wants to make things work, I'll give it a second try. I need some space to think and heal so I can come back to the relationship. But her actions is not congruent with that. She's saying all these things, but she's really not emotionally committing to you. Or when she says that, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to think here, most likely you're dealing with this logic and emotion paradox, that logically I think she understands what she should do, but emotionally she doesn't. Now the reason why we take some time to actually distinguish between logical expression and emotional expression is that if you really don't understand this distinction, you're going to start naturally doing the wrong things and responding to it and reacting to things in all the wrong ways as well. So one, this begins most likely by you making your analysis using your logic as well. And it's probably the reason why you came across this video in the first place. So for example, you're hearing her say this and you're thinking, okay, she loves me, but she doesn't want to commit. Does that mean that she really loves me? I'm confused. I'm not sure what she's actually trying to tell me. And so you get a bit confused, you get a bit frustrated, you get a bit impatient here, and you start to get annoyed at this whole situation, perhaps. And if you're coming from this place of confusion, this frustration, then if you were to ask any questions at this point, the questions you're most likely to ask are questions, again, regarding logic. So you might ask questions like, for example, you know, we've been married for 10 years. You know, we have children together. You know, we have so much history together. You know, things can work. I'm going to be changing my process this time. I'm going to be trying different things. And so you're trying to ask questions, yes, but the questions is really to try to get your partner to change her logical stance. And once you ask these questions, which often you may not get a good answer to, you're going to try to use logic again to try to make some statements, to try to make some promises, to try to make some assurances to again change her logical stance on the issue. So you might tell your partner, for example, hey, you know you can feel safe with me. You know you can always trust me. You can always talk to me whenever you want. You know I'm taking this perhaps new program and watching these videos and I'm learning a lot of things and I'm trying to be a different person here. And you might also try to convince her that, hey, I know I promised this a lot last time, to change last time, that things will be different, but this time is going to be really different. So you might again try to use all these promises and assurances to try to appeal to that logical side again. But the reason why this rarely works is that you don't need to change her logical stance. Logically, she understands everything you're saying. She's probably considering the fact that you guys have a long history. She's already considering the fact that you guys have children. You guys have that maybe there is hope, logical hope, that she should stay and so on. So all these logical appeals you're making doesn't really change that logic versus emotion paradox. In fact, this might actually backfire on you because all you're saying here is that I don't think you really understand what she's truly feeling. And that you're still using the same method, the same methods of persuasion, the same way of communicating to express how you've changed. And so this often just makes her pull away even further because I don't think she believes that you actually understand how serious and what the nature of the problem actually is. Now, before we get into talking about how to actually respond to this, I want you to understand what it actually means to communicate with your partner or communicate with someone on that level of their emotions and not their logic in a way that's more persuasive, in a way that's more believable as well. So first, let's take a step back here to understand the basics of emotions. So understand that emotions don't just arise. They're a result of the interpretations you make, the stories you make about how you interpret, how you see your life. So for example, an event happens. And this event could be, in this case, for example, that your partner tells you, I love you, but I don't love you anymore. And the event itself doesn't create the emotions, but it's the stories you make, the interpretation you make out of that event that creates the emotion. So if your interpretation, for example, was that, oh, my wife isn't really that committal, or my wife really doesn't know what she's talking about, or my wife has given up hope. If that's your interpretation, the way you would choose to interpret what she said, then the emotion you feel is going to be a bit of confusion, a bit of frustration, a bit of impatience, and a bit of anger as well, and a bit of just desperation. And again, your emotions are caused by those interpretations, not the event itself. And the reason why a lot of your logical approaches are failing here is because what you're trying to do is you're trying to appeal to the event portion of this equation here. You're trying to let your partner change her perspective or change her viewpoint of what the event means, of what the event is. But nothing you can say here really works because our partner's always free to twist and bend whatever we say, the event here, in whatever fits her confirmation bias at this point. And her confirmation bias at this point is that she shouldn't trust you, that nothing can really change, that you're probably saying all the things you're saying just to convince her to go back, but nothing has really changed. That's really her confirmation bias. And so guided by that confirmation bias, whatever you say in this event portion here is just going to be twisted and bent to create negative emotions, which is why nothing you say can really appeal to those emotions and really change her decisions in the short term. And a great example of this is if, let's say, your partner wants out of the relationship and your approach is to tell her how much you love her, how much you care about her. Yes, you're saying, I love you and I care about you. But again, her interpretation may be that you are sounding desperate, you are trying to be manipulative, trying to be tricky, and instead of the I love you creating good emotions is going to create negative emotions. So that's how an example of how your logical gestures can really get twisted and bent to create negative emotions. And so when we talk about appealing to someone's emotions, it's understanding the mechanics of this equation and understanding that the way we communicate needs to appeal directly to change these interpretation side. Not only trying to change the events, but trying to change her interpretations of you, of the event, of the relationship. And this cannot happen overnight. It's a slow progress, but you need to understand how to appeal to this side directly. So how do we go about doing this? So the next step is to really understand what does it take to appeal to this emotional side, to appeal to the level of the interpretation itself, rather than the event or the logical side. And there are really 3 levels of mastery, of things you need to do, things you need to master in order for you to appeal to the emotional side fully. So the first one is really understanding the right frameworks to be able to appeal to your partner's emotions directly. And I've discussed this a lot in my previous videos, but this is really you understanding the importance between communicating on a level of expressing your perfect product or expressing your perfect process. And if you're not familiar with this concept, I'm going to put a link down below this video to another video that I have explaining the difference between process versus product. But just real quick here, if you're trying to communicate your perfect product, what you're going to do is you're going to try to logically convince her again of how you've already changed, how you are the perfect person for her, how she should come back to you because you're already the right product. as yourself. So you might say, for example, I have all the solutions. You might make justifications for how much you've grown, how this time is different, and you might make promises into how the future will be different because you really believe that you are a different person, a different product already. And again, communicating your perfect product here is never going to work because here you're basically trying to change the event side of the equation again. But emotionally, she can never really buy whatever you say. Logically, she understands what you're saying, but emotionally, she can't buy it. And when you do this, you're often going to fall into what we call the logic and emotion paradox. So this is you basically trying to prove to your partner that you're not controlling. But the way you go about it is in a very controlling way, in that if you tell your partner, hey, I'm not controlling, and she doesn't believe you, you're going to get even more controlling and even more upset to say, how come you don't believe me? So you're trying to show her that you're not controlling in a controlling way. So that's kind of the examples of how, if you're trying to communicate the perfect product here, you can really fall into the logic versus emotion paradox. And you're going to find that if you do this, the emotions that your partner feels is going to be completely different than what you expected. But if you're trying to communicate in a way that communicates your perfect process, your changes in your process, your answer might seem a bit different. So if your partner tells you, I love you, but I don't feel the same way about you anymore, you might respond with something like this, where you say, okay, look, I understand why you feel the way you feel. We've made some mistakes in the past. We've gone through some bad stuff in the past, and I totally understand why you would not feel the loving feelings as you did in the beginning of our relationship. I get it. Now, my old me right now would be spending my time here telling you 20 reasons why you should come back, 20 reasons why you should feel differently from me, why you should have more hope, and so on. But what I've learned is that I realized nothing I can say here, nothing logical I can say can really work or can really change your mind. So I guess what I'm trying to say is my new self, I'm not going to tell you what to feel, what to do. You are free to decide whatever you want to decide, whatever you want to feel, however you want to move forward, I will respect that. All I ask is that you grab a popcorn and you simply watch my changes. You watch how I'm changing the way I think, the way I operate, the way I go about the relationship. And you decide that for yourself. You decide what you want to do for yourself after you watch me. And even after you watch me, I'm not going to tell you what to do or feel, whether you should come back or not. That's totally up to you. I can't tell you and make decisions for you. So in this expression, nowhere am I trying to convince her that I'm a perfect person, that I have changed, why she should come back. But all I'm saying is, I'm not going to tell you that. And what I want to show her here is that I have a different process. And so I'm conveying a very similar message, but I'm conveying it not by proving to her my product, but I'm trying to prove to her here the changes in my process. So here again, you're not trying to change the event. You're not trying to change what she's doing, her decisions directly. You're trying to influence the interpretation here. And if you say this, her interpretation may be, okay, wow, that was a bit different. The way he went about that was very different than how he used to go about it. Maybe things are changing. So that's how you influence someone on that level of the interpretation again. So there's so much more to this. There's so much more understanding to these frameworks, because when we talk about frameworks here, you have to understand that the framework should be able to serve you in the millions of interactions you have with your partner. You cannot rely on scripts here. So I'm not going to spend this video giving you scripts. But the main point again here is that you need to understand the right frameworks into how you can actually guide a conversation and dance around a conversation in a way that really appeals to her emotions directly. That's the first layer of change. The second layer of change here is that you need to have consistency in the way you execute your frameworks, in the way you conduct yourself. And the way you do this is by having the mindset to back it up. Because to be frank, what you say, what you do is really just 5% of what it takes to really try to convince your partner that you have changed, of a better future with you. And you can understand all the tactics you want, all the advice about how to listen, how to ask questions, all you want. But at the end of the day, if your mindset is faulty, if you're interpreting life in the wrong way and you're having different emotions and the wrong emotions, then there is no way you can execute on those frameworks, the things you've learned in the heat of the moment. And a great case in point here is that if you're interpreting her saying to you, for example, I love you, but I don't love you anymore, and you're interpreting in the old ways you're interpreting it, and it's making you needy, it's making you confused, making you frustrated, making you annoyed, it's going to be very hard for you to say what I just said earlier, to acknowledge, to admit that maybe you don't have that much control, and to be consistent with you showing your changes and showing the differences in the way you act consistently. Because once you interpret something the wrong way, you're guided by your insecurity, your bad emotions. It doesn't matter what you know, you're going to go back to your old ways. You're going to go back to the needy, desperate things that you've been doing to get you to where you are in the first place. And when you're trying to change your partner's emotions here, on the emotional level that you have changed, you have to understand also that you're fighting a very intense confirmation bias that's going against you. So it's not about the 99 things you're doing right. It's often about the one thing you do wrong. It's the one thing you do wrong that's maker gonna go, I knew it. I knew he hasn't changed. I knew things hasn't changed. I knew I shouldn't trust him and so on. So again, not only do you need to have the right frameworks and understand what the right frameworks are, but you need to mindset to be able to interpret your world, the events around you in a healthier way so you can stay calm enough and poised enough to actually play out the right frameworks and play out the right frameworks with consistency. And if you want a video that shows you how you can build this mindset up, what we call the bulletproof vest up in your own relationship, I'm going to place a link down below this video for you to watch that video in case you're interested as well. Now, below frameworks and below mindset, there's one more layer here that is also extremely crucial that I think a lot of people miss. And this is a shame because this is also a very, very important ingredient if you're trying to regain that trust on an emotional level and on that deep level as well. And this is a section that we call identity shifting. And within this bucket, there's really two parts here. One, I want her to feel like she can believe you in your ability to follow through on your changes, to follow through on your evolution, to follow through on your promises of how you're going to change, how you're going to be doing things differently on that emotional level, not on the logical level again. So the feeling of the journey that I think most of you are in, and this is just my observation from after working with a lot of different men as they're trying to save their relationship, is that they might have the right frameworks and then the right mindset to be able to dig deeper, to really understand their partner and what the core issues are. But then as you understand what the core issues are, you might be feeling, okay, in order for me to really follow through on how my partner wants me to change, how I should change my behavior and so on, you might realize that my partner doesn't actually like a lot of parts of me. And I think my partner is trying to make me into someone who I'm not. That you need to be someone different. And so you might try to change the way you talk, to change the way you resolve conflicts, to change the way you think, to change your behavior and so on. But as you're trying to all these changes, you might feel like it's actually quite difficult. It's exhausting. You tell yourself that it's not you, that it feels ingenuine, it feels fake, and you're applying this fake it till you make it approach. And when you feel this hardship to do different things, to follow up on the different things that you promised, and you're using a lot of willpower to do these things, most often what happens is you really haven't shifted your identity, your sense of who you are. So basically what's happening here is that you're still using your current self to try to do different things. That's extremely hard. And if you're trying to do that, nothing you do can ever seem natural, can ever seem genuine, and it's always going to be hard, tiring, difficult, and requiring a lot of your willpower here. And just to give you a few examples of what I mean here, when I first started this business, I was a very shy, very introverted person. But I knew that I wanted to start an online business. And in order for me to start an online business, I had to make a ton of YouTube videos. I had to talk to people, my clients, my prospects, 8 to 10 hours a day. If I was still using my old shy and very introverted self to create so many YouTube videos, to talk to so many people, every day of my journey is going to be so difficult for me. And not only can I feel it, but my clients can feel it. You guys can feel it as well. If I really dislike and I find this process to be such a chore. So in order for me to succeed in my online business, I had to transform and shift my identity into someone who can actually enjoy making videos, who can actually enjoy talking to people 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. I had to get out of my bubble of who I thought I was, my identity, and find another identity. Same thing for my relationship. As I was trying to salvage my relationship, I realized that I had to be a lot more romantic than I was, a lot more seductive than I was, that I had to talk differently, that I had to have a better management of my own emotions and have different ways of thinking around resolving difficult conflicts and differences and so on. If I was still using my old self, who was not very seductive, who was very shy, who was very quick to feel anger, then I can try to do all these things and make all the promises I want, but I can never really follow through on it because every day I do it will feel like a chore, will feel difficult, will feel like it's fake. So I want to give you a quote here of what I tell my students all the time, in that true power and freedom in life, in your relationship, is not really about doing what you like and avoiding what you don't like, or sticking to who you are and avoiding who you're not, sticking to what you're good at and avoiding what you're not good at. You know, I think a lot of people, when they picture true power and true freedom in their own life, they imagine a time when they get a bunch of money and they can finally choose to do whatever they like and avoid whatever they don't like. But To me, that kind of lifestyle is pretty much slavery. Because what you're doing here is you're enslaved by your likes and dislikes. If you need to be someone different, who does different things, who thinks different things, like in the case right now, as you're trying to salvage your relationship, it's going to be a dilemma for you because you can't get out of your bubble. So for me, true power and freedom is about being able to become the shapeless character. So you can transform your identity and become whoever you want to become so that you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. So it was a moment when I began to change my identity to actually like making videos, to actually like talking to people, to actually like being seductive and so on, that I actually became that. And the whole journey of salvaging my relationship didn't become difficult anymore. So the first part of identity shifting is just simply to allow you to be able to become a more shapeless character so you can more effortlessly play out the right tactics, play out the right mindset that you're learning from various sources. The second part of this is that when you can shift your identity like this, that's when all your actions will become a lot more genuine. And just to give you a very, very fast example of this, imagine for a bit that someone is giving you a gift. Now, would it be easier for you to receive that person's gift if that person actually wanted and enjoyed giving you the gift? Or that person was giving you the gift in a reluctant way? It's like, oh, you were giving me the gift, but I knew you really didn't want to. It was so hard for you, and you would rather have not given me the gift at all. Now, if you look at that second gift, where the person was reluctantly giving it to you, yes, you might be able to logically take it, but emotionally, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to openly take it. There's going to be a level of guilt there, a level of, does this come with strings attached? I feel guilty for taking this. But if you were receiving the gift from someone who actually wanted and enjoyed giving you the gift, then not only can you logically take it, but emotionally you can openly receive it as well. I bet all of you feel the same way too. And this is the same in our relationship, that you may be saying all the right things right now, saying all the perfect frameworks, having the right mindset, but if your partner can sense that you're treating that every day, every time you have a difficult conversation, every time you are talking about the relationship, every time you're trying to stay calm, it's a chore for you. It's so difficult for you. Then one, it's going to be very difficult for your partner to believe that your changes are permanent, because she will feel that whenever you get a chance to stop, you will stop because genuinely you hate the process. You don't enjoy the process. And second of all, she will struggle to really receive your gift emotionally the same way you struggle to receive that gift from someone who gave you that gift reluctantly as well. So when you can really unlock your mind and really master identity shifting here, that's when you can really become whoever you want to become, to be the best person for your partner. And you will actually enjoy the process of doing it. And because you enjoy the process, you get better at it faster. And whatever you do becomes a lot more genuine, a lot more powerful in your partner's eyes as well. And not only that, you can stay a lot more consistent with your actions because you actually enjoy it. On your partner's side, your partner will begin to feel and believe your changes on that deeper emotional level, not just on a logical level, where not only can she see your massive transformation emotionally, but she can see that your transformations are also very permanent because you enjoy it, and also very genuine because you're really doing this because you enjoy it, not simply to expect her to come back, to get her back and so on. So it's a very mind-bending concept here, but again, these are the 3 levels of changes that you really need to master if you want to really appeal to her emotions directly and regain that trust, that safety, that attraction back on that emotional level. Now, there's so much more to learning how to master the 3 layers that we talked about in this video. And in being able to communicate with your partner and act in a way that really appeals to your partner's emotions directly rather than the logic. And this is something that our students have really mastered, especially our successful students have really mastered. And what allows them to reconcile in their relationship, no matter how emotionally hopeless or how emotionally checked out their partners may be when they first started the program. So if this sounds like something you want to explore and learn more about, then I want to encourage you to join my masterclass on the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up. In this masterclass, I will show you the exact process that all my students have used to reconcile in the relationship, again, no matter how hopeless or how checked out their partners are at this current moment. And if you'd like to apply for our Relationships with Rebel program, you would have the opportunity to apply for it at the end of this masterclass. So again, if this masterclass sounds like something you want to explore, and if the program sounds like something you want to explore, then I want you to click the link above my head or also down in the comments below in the description box below this video as well. And if you're looking for a guide or a resource that can help you guide conversations better and give yourself a taste of what these frameworks are about, then I want you to download the guide above my head or also down in the comments below the description box or in the comment box below this video as well. And if you're looking for a community where you can join, post your questions, and actually get relatively good advice and support about whatever it is you're experiencing right now. Then you can also click the link down below this video to join my free Facebook group. In the meantime, do leave a comment below. What did you find most insightful, most eye-opening in this video? I would love to hear your thoughts here. So leave a comment below, don't be shy. And if you found this video helpful, then like it and subscribe to this channel for more content like this one. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you with these 2 other videos that we mentioned earlier on in this video to give you more resource and more tools to allow you to reconcile and save your relationship more artfully. For now, I'll see you in the next video.